right here in business today. Anyway, let's start with our biggest story. And this touches on inflation, where Kenya's inflation dropped to 6.7% for August, down from 7.3% in July 2023. According to data released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that's KBS, the drop has been largely influenced by a drop in food prices. The prices of cooking oil decreased by 1.2%, maize grain 8.2%, fortified maize flour 6.1%, beans 1.3%, potatoes 3.5%, and cabbages 2.6%. However, the prices of sugar increased by 3.2%, while mangoes increased by 6.1%. Food and non-beverages index increased by 7.5%. On a month-to-month basis, it decreased by 0.5% between July and August 2023. Regarding non-food items, 13 kg cooking gas recorded a decrease of 2.8% attributed to the reduction of levies on liquefied petroleum gas, that is LPG. The cost of electricity also rose by 1.5% and 1.8% for those using 200 kilowatt and 50 kilowatt respectively. And that brings us to the question about inflation. I want to engage Ken Gishinga, who joins us right now. Ken, looking at the numbers, last inflation numbers dropped to 7.3% within target range of 2.5 to 7.5. Now it's getting lower. What does this say about the resilience of Kenya's economy?
Well, this is very good news, Noah, not least because the cost of living has been the singular most important topic on the lives of Kenyans. Kenyans have gone to the streets because of the cost of living. So I think it's a relief that we are seeing, particularly food items, which tend to be quite central, coming down. I think almost most of the food items, except mangoes and sugar, appear to have come down. So I think it's good news, and it'll be very, very much welcome by the Kenyans at large.
Definitely, Ken. That's why I started the show with "What a Wonderful World." But the question is, how sustainable is this wonderful world? If inflation is coming down, we've seen the central banks across the world raising the rates, and one of the reasons, the core reason, is containing inflation. Now, with this reduced inflation that we're seeing, should we be expecting a change in the next review when it comes to CBR?
Well, that's a good question, and I think it's a bit more complex than that. But indeed, our central banks will be looking at this as good news. But whether they'll reduce interest rates right now, I think that will depend also on international factors. A big decision is expected in the United States. And most central banks try to avoid a huge interest rate differential. So if the United States continues raising interest rates, you might find many central banks around the world, including here in Kenya, also trying to prop up those interest rates to reduce that differential. But indeed, I think the call out there is it's time to make the cost of credit cheaper. It's time to make businesses more vibrant. So there will be a significant push towards lower interest rates.
Definitely. And last Friday we were here, Ken, and we had really we had a discussion about the issue of BRICS and how we are trying to create an alternative to the global economic model that we have. In that regard, if we might prop up this particular idea, when it comes to tackling inflation and interest rates, and how when it changes in America, then it impacts us here. In fact, in regards to how we are able to afford our food, and that is quite a huge concern. If at all there is an alternative, does this mean this kind of seesaw reaction that we see goes away?
Well, I think it will remain because, yes, we talk about inflation, but there's also the very other important indicator of unemployment. Now, if you look at the United States, they try to balance those two, what they call the dual mandate. In fact, today, being the first Friday, they'll publish the jobs numbers there. We don't have that in most developing countries. In fact, in most countries, such as Kenya, we do what is called inflation targeting. But there is a big concern that if we neglect the unemployment numbers, we can't create an extreme situation where inflation is under control, but unemployment is out of reach. Now, when you talk about the BRICS, one of the most uniform things about the BRICS is they are countries of high population. Brazil, Russia, India, China, all of them really have populations of over 100 million people. So for them, cost of living is important, but ability to keep such huge populations employed is an important consideration. So the BRICS will need to push economic policies of really reducing unemployment.
All right. That's very important. So as it stands, inflation rate has gone down to 6.7% from the highs of 7.3%. But I want us to transition